I take a look at like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and because of, well, they have to have this representation, you end up having these villains that have that representation, but their skin color, their heritage has to be like a part of the reason why they've been victimized and why they got turned into a villain and shit like that. It's like you can't just have bad people be bad anymore, just for the hell of it. It has to be because they were taken advantage of.
Our main villain in the book is Chinese. He's a Chinese gangster that's found his way to Mexico, and he's not bad because he's Chinese. He's just bad because he's a bad dude. He just happens to be from Hong Kong and all that stuff.
Happens to be Chinese.
If we embrace what we like, then it's going to come out great. And like Dean said, if some 23-year-old, sociology studies degree is telling us what to do with these big companies and just infesting it with ideology, it'll break the story. It'll be boring and uninteresting and just preachy.
Talking about kind of these stories that kind of bring you back to traditional storytelling. Obviously, Dean, you played the superhero. You played Superman, the person who embodies truth, justice, and the American way. What does that kind of mean to you as you're so far departed from that in terms of your career? But I imagine it has to nearly every day you're kind of reminded of that and what you represent to people. How's that been for you, just as one of the very few people who've ever got to represent that character in live action?
Well, first of all, Ryan, it's the greatest role I could have ever played. And way to start the career, with that role. It's incredible. Christopher Reeve was always my Superman and my favorite. And that's who I based my Superman character on. And for us, the character was Clark Kent. Superman was the disguise. That was the twist that we had in the show. And it worked, I think, very, very well. Terry Hatcher was the greatest Lois Lane of all time. And she was great and drove the show. But it was called Lois and Clark. And it was a strong, independent woman back in the 90s. And it wasn't fabricated because she was also vulnerable and wanted her own Superman, who turned out to be Clark. And so it was a great story that sort of was ahead of its time. But again, none of it fabricated, none of it forced to go female empowerment or anything like that. That's just who she was. And it was great. For me, truth, justice, and the American way is everything. I believe it in my heart all the way through. I can't believe DC let that lapse. They lost that phrase, right? It went to
me when I published my book last year called that. So
that's it. They dropped it for truth, justice,
and a better tomorrow or something. Yeah, which sounds very progressive.
It's very globalist.
Yeah.
And for me, the American way is very important because the American way is about individualism and the rights of the individual over the state. It's about competing fairly. Being able to compete fairly. And it's about hard work and determination. And then if you do well, it's about having those resources, being able to be successful and enjoy that and take care and reap the fruits of your labor and take care of your family and your extended family. The capitalism is the greatest meritocracy and economic system ever. And merit is important. This whole thing about, I'm all for equality of opportunity, but not of outcome. If Gabe is working his tail off and his finger can't straighten out because he draws all day long, look at that.
Yeah, my fingers are actually stuck that way.
Right? There's a reason because he works his tail off and he has no more tail left and his fingers are all bent because he works so hard. That's why he's so good. The reason Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. There's a reason Elon Musk is Elon Musk. Then that genius should be able to be rewarded. And that is the American way. And that's why everybody wants to come here because they know no matter what your race, creed, color, sex, sexual identity, none of that matters if you're great at what you do. And that's America. And it's a meritocracy. And that's why I believe in truth, justice, and the American way. And it's about fairness. And it's about, treating people as equals. It really is. And so I live it. I breathe it every single day. And I'm proud to have that in my Twitter bio.